wir uns jetzt das Video da an, was ich gerade hatte. Das sieht nämlich echt sau cool aus.
This is a bird feeder, and everything to my left is my attempt at making it squirrel-proof. If they want the bird seed, they will first need to pass through what is basically an 8-part Ninja Warrior obstacle course for squirrels. This course is extremely challenging. It is not for the timid of heart. But out of the gate, I will admit that in hindsight, that I completely underestimated my adversary.
Eichhörnchen, süßeste Tiere der ganzen Welt. Real Talk. Ich habe früher mal ein Eichhörnchen gesehen, was sich verletzt hatte, und dann habe ich das mit nach Hause genommen. Obwohl ich actually bis heute nicht mehr weiß, ob es ein Eichhörnchen oder ein Igel war. Ich glaube, aber bin mir relativ sicher, dass es ein Eichhörnchen war. Und dann habe ich es nach Hause gebracht. Meine Mutter hat gesagt, ich soll es sofort zurückbringen, weil es hat bestimmt Tollwut, weil es so zutraulich ist. Und dann habe ich es wieder zurück in den Wald gebracht.
I'm using walnuts because over the course of a week, I put out a buffet of 7 different nuts and seeds. And all 4 times I repeated the experiment, walnuts were always the one they ate first. What's great about placing this here is it levels the playing field, as the birds can fly up and get as much food as they want anytime they need it. The squirrels, however,
ich bin voll begeistert, wie cool das gemacht ist einfach. Ohne Witz.
Have to work for it, because the only way to make it to this platform is if they work their way through my 8-part Ninja Warrior obstacle course, which all starts right here. This is the only platform on the course that has a pole that isn't covered in slippery stuff, which means this is where they have to climb up to enter the course.
Nice.
If they try and get up any other way, they can't keep a good grip, and they just slide back down. So the first challenge is the bridge of instability. Now this may look easy, but the trick is it attaches at a single point on each end. And from a physics standpoint, that makes it no different than trying to crawl across a tightrope. It's the same deceptive principle with that one carnival game that's so impossible. I broke it down in another video where I used physics to show which carnival games were basically scams and the science on how to beat them. Next up, the maze of 1,000 corridors. This one's a bit more cerebral, but if they
auch
make
ein
it
interessantes Video, eigentlich auch voll interessant.
through that, it will bring them to the pitchfork tumblers, which are inspired by the show Wipeout. But unlike Wipeout, I should point out that all these contraptions are squirrel friendly, and even with a little back force, they will break away and stop spinning.
Stark. Nice.
Now, if they can make it past the pitchfork tumblers of treachery, they come to one of my personal favorites, the home wrecker.
Macht ja gar keinen Sinn.
I put her in to tempt the squirrel to lose focus on the real prize at the end of the course. Because this pad has a pressure sensor underneath it, and it connects to a microcontroller that has a relay that connects to a solenoid, that connects to a pneumatic piston, that connects back to this platform with the pressure
sensor. Sag mir nicht, hier wird geschleudert.
So if they stand here for more than 3 seconds, they've got to start the course all over again. Next up is the slinky bridge of deception. I've suspended a juicy
Aber als ob die das schaffen.
walnut right in the middle, but there's no way this bridge will support their weight, so it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. The 6th challenge is called the tourist trap. It's actually a bit of a reward for making it this far. If the squirrel sticks their head through this board my wife painted, it's just a photo op they can hang on the wall of their tiny squirrel base. I'll place a walnut here as an incentive for them not to miss this unique opportunity. The penultimate challenge are the quad steps.
So nice. What the fuck?
Of great elevation. This is taken straight from Ninja Warrior, and this is super tricky because these pads are all totally smooth and placed at a 45-degree incline. And now for the last challenge. At this point, they are a mere few feet away from their ultimate goal, but if they're not careful, they'll have to deal with the orbital assist platform, aka the final countdown, aka...
Ey, wenn das einer von den Eichhörnchen überhaupt schafft, dann ist halt wirklich, also ist mal Real Talk, ich weiß nicht, ob die das schaffen. Ist ja wie Unfair Mario quasi, no joke.
It's not a catapult, it's a squirrelapult. Which means they now have to go back and start all the way over from the beginning. Now,
es ist halt wirklich Unfair Mario.
if they want to avoid that fate, they just need to stand on this pad for less than 3 seconds. But once again, I've placed a diversion here. This one projects an optical illusion of anything you place in the bottom of this dish. It's actually super trippy and looks even more impressive in real life because the projected image is 3D. They're like $9 on Amazon, and I put a link that explains the juicy physics of how they work in the video description. Now, with regards to squirrel safety.
Es ist der coolste Typ, den ich in meinem ganzen Leben gesehen habe, no joke.
And so finally, after making it through all that, we're back here at the world's most satisfying bird feed. After nearly a month of prep work, the course was officially open
Einen
for
Monat haben die vorbereitet. Das ist crazy.
business. They could smell the walnuts at the final station, and you can
Eichhörnchen
see the
sind so
gears
cool.
turning because right
Wenn
about
die das schaffen, ja, wenn die Eichhörnchen das schaffen, dann sind Eichhörnchen auf einmal, also sind Eichhörnchen ab jetzt meine neuen Lieblingstiere, ohne Witz.
that was their favorite bird feeder. And so before long, we had our first contender.
Wie süß das einfach ist, what the fuck?
exactly go as planned, so Rick decides to regroup.
Oh, he's trying. Er gibt sein Bestes. Oh.
Which, that's Rick. There are a total of 4 competitors that will be attempting the course. First up is Rick, and he weighs 500 grams. I know this because he's actually standing on a custom-made scale.
Wie cool ist das gemacht? Holy shit.
Rick is very clever, as you'll see here in a minute, but he also gets spooked easily. Next up is Marty. He's basically indistinguishable from Rick. Rick and Marty are inseparable and pretty much spend all their time together as a pair. Our third contender is Frank, also coming in around 500 grams.
Frank.
He's very gutsy. He's also kind of dumb. Finally, we've got my personal
Ich bin Frank.
favorite, Fat Gus. He's just really charming and will strike a pose if he sees a camera. He also really likes to eat, and he tips the scales at an impressive 800 grams. While most of the squirrels are kind of particular before making a selection and then gracefully leaping away, Fat Gus just goes for it, hands-free.
Der Beste, ich liebe ihn.
Just makes himself real comfortable.
Er ist einfach am Viben, Leute.
So now that you know our 4 contenders, let's
Für
get
wen
back.
seid ihr, Chad? Rick und Marty einfach? Frank, ich glaube, ich bin für unseren Gast hier. Den finde ich toll. Aber ich finde alle so süß. Ich würde es allen gönnen. Ich hoffe, dass es alle schaffen. Chad kann einfach nur mit Gus relaten. Twitch-User, Abfahrt.
Back to Rick. So he hops back on, and he's actually doing better than his first attempt. Just barely. This is the best because he's like, okay, I got this. Never mind. Well, maybe No, I definitely don't. And this was the exact moment I realized I just might be outmatched here.
Was? Als ob er direkt dieses Loch trifft auch.
Marty was
Moment, was?
watching Rick, and after a quick dip of his toes in the water, adopts his strategy right out of the gate. Oof, so close. But an excellent recovery. And Fat Gus, perhaps predictably, comes up a little short. Which brings us to the Maze of 1,000 Corridors.
Die
Which,
sind so cool.
to be honest, they mastered this one pretty quickly. Here's a solid run from Fat Gus.
Ui.
And now for the pitchfork tumblers of treachery. Marty was like, yeah, that's a hard pass. Fat Gus is just like, abort! Frank is just like, nope. Then he's like, wait a second. Still nope. Then Marty flies in real hot over the top. He didn't make it through, but that's partial credit as far as I'm concerned. And then here's Fat Gus with my favorite attempt by far. And then Frank shows no fear, which helps him pull off this near flawless run. And finally, Smart Rick surgically weaves his way through, essentially untouched.
Er
And I
ist so
should
clumsy, aber es ist so süß.
mention, the squirrels were most active from 6 to 10 a.m. So every morning I've been getting up before the sunrise to start filming from in my house like one of those camouflage nature photographers.
Stimmt, der muss ja auch immer filmen. Oder er hat Bewegungssensorkameras, irgendwie Bewegungssensor an den Kameras. Weil das ist ja auf, keine Ahnung, sonst hätte er ja alles verpasst.
Only like a suburbanized version. I've also had a handful of streaming cameras rolling
Auf Weird Champ Stalker angelehnt.
24/7, which has allowed me to make such discoveries as we have the world's worst guard dog. Thanks for the help, pal. Now back to the homewrecker. You can see Rick is instinctively suspicious of this gold digger and only for a brief moment puts his full weight on the platform. I told you he was smart. His buddy Marty, on the other hand...
Oh no. Marty, no! Marty, no!
She is a cruel mistress. This will not hurt the squirrel for 2 reasons. Number 1, they are amazing like cats and always land on their feet. And 2, they themselves were jumping from this height all the time, and in some cases, much higher. In fact, squirrels are one of the
Der wurde ja gerade richtig weggejietet.
Squirrels are one of the few mammals that can survive a fall from any height because they make their terminal velocity so low. You can see it right here. They make their body as flat as possible, then put their tail back to increase drag. They basically become their own parachute. And then right before they land, they pull in and fully extend their arms and legs to act as shock-absorbing landing gear. This is so cool. Now back to the course where even Smart Rick eventually lets his guard down, which is exactly when she strikes.
Rick.
But just like all the other obstacles so far,
Aber krass, wie sehr sie durchziehen, dass sie immer noch sich denken, Abfahrt. Ich hätte schon lange aufgegeben.
after a day or two, they'd mastered it. In this case, even disregarding her offering of a fresh walnut.
Smart.
Now on to the Slinky Bridge of Deception, and this was the sleeper obstacle in my book. That is not a large gap, which they can easily jump, but having the Slinky there just threw them off somehow. You can see how much Frank is struggling here, and he's the brave one. And Rick only jumps when Marty shows up for emotional support.
Oh,
But
wie
like-
süß, dass sie das zu zweit machen, ist so cute.
All the obstacles so far, after a day or two,
Das
they'd
ist so ein
mastered
cooles
it. Now on to our
Video.
third to last obstacle, the
Oh,
tourist
ja,
trap.
komm.
And this one was just a freaking delight. A little peanut butter really did the trick here.
Oh. Ist das süß.
Now here comes Fat Gus, and I mean, how Fat Gus is this? He sees the camera and he's like, paint me like one of your French squirrels. Yeah? No? No takers? Alright. Here's another classic Gus, where he looks at the camera. Wait a second. Play that back. And freeze. Zoom, enhance. Well, turns out Fat Gus is not a dude. And he's pregnant. Which meant I was suddenly
Oh, lol.
feeling real uncomfortable about all those weight comments.
Oh, lol. Fat Gus ist schwanger.
After a bit of a pivot
Er
to
ist gar nicht fett. Er ist pregnante.
smooth things over, we soldiered on to the quad steps of great elevation. Frank comes in rather confident, almost to his demise, but
Nein,
he pulls
Frank,
off
was
the
machst
smooth
du?
recovery.
Close one.
So after not much time at all, they were looking pretty good here. In fact, one morning I noticed Marty totally skipped the last step altogether, which I took as a challenge, and so I removed the middle step to see what they would do. And who else but Fantastic Gus? Let's slow that down a bit.
Holy
They're
shit,
such amazing
Eichhörnchen
jumpers,
cool.
so I suppose the quick mastery.
Eichhörnchen sind so cool, holy shit.
Such amazing jumpers, so I suppose the quick
man.
mastery here wasn't a
Chat,
surprise.
ich bin jetzt Eichhörnchen-Fan. Fühlt ihr das? Ich bin Eichhörnchen-Fan jetzt.
I mean, this right here is probably a 10-foot jump. And here's some classic brave but dumb Frank. He'd already entered the course normally and made it to the home wrecker at least a dozen times by this point. And yet for some reason, he decides this 12-foot jump is his best course of action. Rick was the first one to enter the course, so in the end, after about a week of effort, it was fitting he was the one to make it to the jackpot first. And he's so
did it.
stoked, he apparently wants to run the whole course in reverse. In hindsight, we probably should have made the jackpot a little quieter. Here's Marty.
Wie er komplett zurückgeht, den ganzen Weg lang.
As always,
Er macht einfach Speedrun in Reverse.
not far behind. He's also a bit flighty, as you know, which worked against him here because down below Fantastic Gus, ever the opportunist, comes through with a real stroke of brilliance.
Oh, smart.
But pretty soon Marty comes back like, I'm the one who kind of earned that. And then Fantastic Gus is like, you snooze, you lose, sucker. So here's a single camera shot of a full run, and by the end, all of them could do the full course in less than 40 seconds. And while we're watching, you might be wondering what happened to the squirrelaput. Unfortunately, they didn't really fall for my illusion much, but I'm about to show you the 2 times they did. Now what you're about to see is gonna look pretty chaotic, but when we check the slow-mo,
Okay, jetzt bin ich gespannt. Jetzt bin ich wirklich gespannt. Wir machen die Kamera kurz hier hin.
amazingly, I'll show you how the squirrel is totally in control pretty much the whole time.
Oh no! No!
The squirrel is totally in control pretty much the whole time.
Oh baby, no!
Alright, now here's a second angle.
Oh baby, no!
Also, even if you don't trust my calculations, I can assure you that the squirrels did not care. In both launch cases, they were back up on the course in like 5 minutes. Here's the slow-mo and see if you can spot the 2 critical things he does to make sure he lands feet down. Did you catch it? The first critical moment is right here. He's already done the predictive math, and he's locked his head on the spot where he plans to land. And now his head will not lose that lock the whole way down. What's crazy?
Krank, stimmt, er guckt immer auf denselben Hund. Hund? Punkt. Ist ja wirklich crazy.
Is the time it takes him to do all the predictive math to know exactly where he will land and to lock his head is 300 milliseconds. That's exactly this long. Literally less than the blink of an eye. That blows my mind, but if you think about it, it makes
Das
sense.
ist echt heftig. So kurz hat er nur gebraucht, um zu wissen, wo er landet. Das ist wirklich insane. Ist mega cool. Wirklich.
These reactions would have evolved to be razor sharp if you live your life in the trees, constantly making split-second decisions. Now, besides picking the landing spot with his head, the second trick is with his arms. When he wants to keep his upper body from rotating, he has his arms out. But the moment he wants to rotate his upper body quickly, he tucks them in. And then when he wants to stop rotating, he extends them out again. Here's the second launch.
Krass. Ist wirklich mega cool.
So this may look
Oh no! Das sah wirklich nicht gut aus. Oh no!
like pure luck in real time, but the slow-mo tells a different story. In that amount of time, he's already made a slight lateral push in that direction and locked his landing target with his head.
Lol, ich dachte, er wäre dagegen geklatscht, aber tatsächlich tut er sich da festhalten.
You know from the previous clip, he can rotate his body to any orientation, but he doesn't in this case because he sees his small push has already aligned him for the perfect landing.
Lol.
That's just so cool. And so after those two physics demonstrations, I disabled both the launcher and the home wrecker trapdoor and just let them enjoy the course in peace. As far as I was concerned, they had earned it. Plus, after spending a month together, we were sort of bros by this point. If they saw me coming out to work, they would certainly jump away, but then they'd just quickly be right back. And sadly, all good things must come to an end, and because I didn't want them to develop an unhealthy dependence on my handouts, after about a week of free reign, I took down the course, but in its place, I put up a specialized squirrel-sized picnic table. Every morning, this door opens to release just a few walnuts as a
Ach,
little
wie
treat to
cool.
remind
Ach Mann, der Typ ist voll cool.
them of our good times together. That after all this, somehow I didn't
Oh mein Gott, ist er smart.
anticipate on day one, Frank would immediately try and figure out and partially succeed in finding a way to beat the system. Like everything else though, they quickly caught on and
Ich
now in
wusste tatsächlich nicht, dass Eichhörnchen so smart sind. Das ist wirklich krass.
some mornings
Habt
I'll
ihr das gewusst, dass die so schlau sind? Also Eichhörnchen? Die sind wirklich smart.
catch them just
Wie
waiting
süß er da einfach sitzt an diesem Picknicktisch. Das ist das Süßeste, was ich seit langem gesehen habe.
for the daily ration, chilling patiently on the bench seat. That is everyone but Fantastic Gus. Don't ever change, buddy. When I started this 2-month-long adventure trying to birdwatch, I had no idea I would enjoy squirrel watching so much more. It's also made me realize that even amongst the structures and pavement and power lines, how interesting nature can be in a single suburban backyard if you just really stop to look. Even the plants are amazing. I had no idea that as vines grow, they spin around looking for something to grab onto. I didn't anticipate the wide variety of animals that use fences as inter-yard highways to get around as a substitute for all the trees that existed before we got here. But of all the animals, I can definitively say now that squirrels are my absolute favorite.
Ja.
And they're certainly a more
Fühle ich ein bisschen. Also ich hätte auch nicht gedacht, dass Eichhörnchen so cool sind.
formidable adversary than porch pirates. They're kind of adorable, incredibly crafty, curious by nature, athletic, and persistent.
Voll
Turns out
cool.
squirrels can live to be 20 years old, and so I like to think that someday Fantastic Gus will bring his grand squirrels to the fence and regale them with tales of cowboys and courage and legendary
Oh man,
walnut
das ist ein
piles.
cooles Video gewesen. Ey, das gibt ein Like. Das gibt ein Like. Und ich
If you
abonniere
find
den
us on
sogar.
board and you
Mega
like the idea
cool.
of-
Real Talk, richtig gutes Video. Also, ich hätte nicht gedacht, dass wir die 20 Minuten durchschauen, aber es war eins der coolsten Videos, die ich seit langem gesehen habe. Das hat mich richtig happy gemacht, das Video. Voll süß, mega cool. Also hat mich richtig happy gemacht.